Hello, everyone. Welcome to This Love and Action, where Kevin and I lift behind the veil of our marriage to have the real conversations that not a lot of people are having and show you what healthy communication looks like in the midst of an imperfect and steadily learning marriage. So we officially launched our first podcast.
Exciting. Episode 1 is now live.
Which, I mean, like, this has been such a labor of love for both of us for
Years in the making. Lots of excitement, but also a lot of learnings along the way too.
Yeah, it's wild to hear the responses from people and also get to watch it back ourselves. And it's interesting to have talked about perfectionism and then just to feel that kind of an understanding of gosh, there are so many things that we get to tighten up over time. Mm-hmm. And part of this was let's launch before we're ready. Mm-hmm. And so we're taking you all on the journey with us as we learn. So thanks for your patience, and can't wait for episode 30 when we are so much more put together.
I know. We'll see how it goes. And it's been interesting because one of the things that we were actually talking about today, our first episode was published, and I was feeling anxious about reposting on my personal social media of this fear around what are people going to think. Mm. And it's people that I don't even know or have any connection with, and yet sometimes still that anxiety pumps in my chest.
Knowing that it was a little bit anxiety inducing for you to repost, which I don't think you have yet.
I have not.
That's
going to happen in a few minutes.
Yeah, that's okay.
We're going to work through it.
Well, I mean, my question for you is, what is the identity that you think you have with the people that you're most concerned about seeing?
Oh, interesting. I think I'd say most of the people on social media are probably people that I met in college around that time, where I was a very different version of myself. I would get extremely drunk. I would act like a fool. I didn't feel like I was a great friend. So there's a lot of shame associated with that chapter of my life. Mm. And putting this out there almost tugs on that feeling of are you still that person?
Are you still that person?
No, I'm not. But there's an interesting feeling that comes up when I think about posting something like this out there and having all of those people see me who knew me 12 years ago and make some sort of judgment. But I guess at the end of the day, it's really my own judgment. Mm. And that's happening internally, because I'm not going to be around when I'm not going to be looking over their shoulder while they watch a video of me sharing information or talking about my relationship or talking about my growth.
Yeah. I just really want to honor the fact that that's coming up for you, because everything that we've talked about in terms of your college years in particular, I mean, that was such a heightened exposure to you trying to find your footing. Mm-hmm. Socially. Mm-hmm. So just for some context, and you correct if any of this is mistaken,
Let's
please.
peel up the layers.
So for some context, Kevin in college was, you had just learned that you were good looking. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Late bloomer.
Yeah. Very much so. And I was so emotionally, I was terrified to talk to a girl without being drunk. And so that led to needing to be a specific amount of drunk to feel that confidence. But that's a fine line between that drunk and getting blacked out. And I consistently would drink too much and would black out and not remember things and do really stupid things and make a fool of myself and do a lot of things I'm not proud of at all. Yeah. So it's just interesting to reflect that it was 12 years ago now. Wow. Just how much has changed in those 12 years is remarkable.
Yeah, well, I mean, without fast forwarding over the parts that are hard, because I can feel you be okay, cool, I've learned.
Next.
But I mean, what were your friendships like? So you would do things that you weren't proud of, and then what would happen? What were the repercussions?
I had a reputation associated with that. Like I would do things I wasn't proud of, and it was just like, oh, Kevin doing his thing, and I felt like alienated. I felt judged. I judged myself. Sort of locked myself in my room. I felt like I'd do that or try extra hard to be friends with the people in my fraternity to compensate for that. Because by no means was I the only person in my fraternity that like blacked out and would make a fool of themselves, but it felt like I did it in a louder way, or maybe it wasn't even that I was like as cool as some of the other kids, so me doing it had different implications. I don't know, there's a lot of social dynamics at play there too.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think regardless, like the general sentiment that I'm hearing from you is like feeling rejected, feeling like a desire to belong,
yeah.
feeling a sense of maybe like eagerness to be more vulnerable when you were drunk, and then like maybe, you know, taking it too far in one direction, or like going back to what we've talked about before, where it's like if you have a lot of anger inside, or if you have a lot of sadness inside, like these moments of being intoxicated, I feel like are really prime moments for that inner emotion to seep out.
Such a good point, because I think there's a lot of associations with things being inherently bad, like call it alcohol or money or things like that, where if you get more of it, you act a certain way. But I think, as you just pointed out, like they're just magnifiers of what's already there. If you feel angry and you've repressed a lot of yourself and you feel a lot of shame, and then when you drink and you just like let it all out there and you act like a crazy person, you're like, woo, no cares in the world, and it feels good. But then the next day it's like, oh my god, what did I do? And so it feeds into the shame.
Yeah. And you said you every time, but it sounds like you're talking about yourself. Okay.
Myself.
Yeah. So I mean, to be that version of you where that desire to feel accepted and part of something is so strong, and like you had that coping mechanism of working with alcohol, and now, you know, you don't have that. You don't have like the security blanket. Like we don't drink. We have taken sharp turns. I mean, from the crazy partier who really wanted to be with someone maybe underneath it all, but didn't know how to be intimate, to where you are now in a monogamous multi-year relationship, and, you know, sober and working on yourself all the time. And the way that I see you is just that, like, of all the people that I would want to learn from, I feel like it's the people who've explored their depths, who have like made mistakes. And I feel like, to me, that's like the heart of what we're talking about here. The heart of why I feel like this is important is not because we have this perfect relationship, but because I was also a mess. You know, not to say that I'm like totally cleaned up now, but I had a tremendous amount of trauma that informed how I showed up, and it was leaking all over the place. And I drank a lot in high school and in college as well. I would say more so in high school, just because I grew up so quickly. But, you know, the person I was in relationships back then, like, oh my gosh, I was like 90 pounds and drinking to match my guy friends and thinking that made me super cool. And then I'd come back in my room at night and I would just like cry and feel like a failure. And like all those emotions were still there. And that was even with the access to the words that I had back then. So I'm saying all this not because there's anything wrong with our processing, but it's like we've both explored our depths and we've chosen a different way. Like I feel like for both of us, that was part of our sobriety journey, was like not that we had a quote unquote problem with alcohol as adults. We were just social drinkers.
Yeah.
But we, like, at least I'll speak for myself, it was always something where I had wondered and thought to myself, like, gosh, I'm so healthy. Like, I work out all the time, I eat super healthy, I'm drinking lots of water, I'm doing all of these things that healthy people do. And I, like, you know me, I like take it to the max. Like, I am I'm like really invested in my
Doing
health
things right.
and longevity and vitality.
Yeah.
And I was still drinking. And when I would drink, I would drink. And we would talk about it and we'd be like, oh yeah, maybe we won't drink next weekend. And then next weekend would roll around and we'd have two social events and we'd end up drinking both events. And so it was just kind of like this looming thought of like, gosh, I don't feel like I have a problem, but I don't really know what life would be like without this vice. And
it's been a really interesting journey. What is it? It's been like 2 years since you and I have drank. And it wasn't like we made this overt commitment. It just didn't feel like it fit anymore in the lifestyle that we wanted. And we're like, okay, so we'll stop drinking. And we're like, we got this. And little do we know the intense process that it took to go through that. I feel like for 6 months, we'd have a game plan. So we're not going to drink. And then if someone asks us, what's our go-to line? How are we going to describe this? How are we going to make sure that we don't come off as the people that don't drink anymore and can't have fun anymore? We're still fun. So we had this like whole backstory that we're like practicing with each other for like how to overcome whatever someone might think of us. And then we would get there and no one would ask, but it still felt that way. And then we would get there and we would feel this social pressure. That was the big thing. If we get there and this anxiety would creep up of like, I need something to do with my hands. So I remember we made this pact. We're like, okay, it's not that we can't drink or that we're ruling out. What we're going to do is we're going to go there and we're going to have a glass of water first. And if we still want to have a drink after that, cool, great. But then it's from a choice to have the drink rather than this, people are drinking, I need a drink, I need to loosen up a little bit so I feel a little bit more comfortable in this social setting and then can talk to my friends in a certain
skipping
way.
that first round, like even if you're at a dinner or something like that, that for us, I feel like was so game changing because that first round, I feel like is where the anxiety, like you start to feel it simmer and you're like, oh gosh, is anybody going to notice that I'm not having a drink? And we're like, oh no, it's fine. We'll just get some water for now. We'd always say for now to not like stir pot. And to your point, it's like people didn't really question. There have been a couple of random events where people have asked us or like been kind of insulted, I'll say, that we didn't celebrate with them by having a drink. And those are like pretty short-lived. And I think, part of this process has also been, I think for both of us being people pleasers or recovering people pleasers has been this willingness to just choose what we know we need for ourselves, even if it disappoints people. And I think drinking was like very heavily embedded with that. And also like part of the challenge for me at least was, gosh, I was like, I'm so fun. And I have been so serious my whole life. Like even this podcast, I'm like, it's like so hard for me to get out of serious mode. Because I take my fun seriously too. Like, I mean, you get to see like, all my jingles and.
It's great. It's great. We're going to have to do a whole episode on jingles because you have the best jingles in the world. And I don't want to spoil anything, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Let's save that one for later.
But I mean, being silly and having fun is so important to me. And I feel like alcohol was like a place where I got to compartmentalize the fun because once you adjust that lever to permit yourself to step into that zone, you don't even need to drink that much to just like crank up the volume on a part of you that is like feeling repressed. And for me, that was fun, Rachel. That was little fun Rach, doing her thing. And, like I think leaning so heavily into alcohol for so many years, and because I love fun is such a value for me, I would encourage people to drink. And also I'll say that when people drink a lot, they get to a point of vulnerability and singing, by the way, which I mean, that's like
Break out the karaoke machine. It's 3 a.m.
I mean, if you could put all my
Let's
favorite
go.
things in one bucket, fun, singing, and
Vulnerable
vulnerability.
conversations.
So like, to have believed that I needed alcohol to do those things, it was hard to untangle that. And for the first many months, I was kind of figuring out, how do I fit into this social setting now that I don't have this thing to pep me up? Because like the highs don't feel as high when you're not leaning into a vice, and the escapism is not there. And so you kind of are in this position where you're like looking around at a party and everyone's getting like more and more drunk. And again, like it's hard to be fun when like everyone gets a little annoying when when they're that drunk and you're the sober one. No, it's not everybody, but like things get louder. People are not always making a lot of sense.
The loudness is certainly one. People, speaking as someone who is naturally quiet.
Kevin's volume
Baseline volume
is
loud. Rachel's asked I get sound buffers in my office so that it doesn't bleed into hers.
It's funny because Kevin has like a volume 1,000, and then when he gets really vulnerable, he'll kind of like mumble and he'll be super quiet. And so that is the only time that Kevin is almost inaudible, is like then and when he's sleeping.
I'm sharing my heart.
You're better about that now.
I'm getting there. Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, we did this whole circle around like going into drinking, but going back to your college experience and the vulnerability about posting, I'm curious, like what comes up for you as you think about moving forward with this podcast?
I think getting the opportunity to talk about it here, having you ask questions that I wasn't asking myself, is sort of coming to the understanding that like I'm worried about people that I met 12 years ago, what they're going to think, and I'm never actually going to see them again or even know what their reaction is. It sounds silly on the surface, but when it's not on the surface, it feels very real. So I think one of the things that am feeling now and recognize is that when I get a chance to actually talk about it and bring it to the surface and be able to say, hey, this is the worry, this is my fear, I'm worried that these people are going to judge me. But then you go a layer deeper and it's actually how I feel about myself 12 years ago and judging myself, or if I'm actually evolved or if I'm still that same person pretending to be a more evolved version of myself. And I think that's that piece right there. It's like the ammunition within inside of myself of like, have you really evolved, or are you just posting a podcast, talking about it, and it's sort of this gag, like poser, for lack of a better word.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. It's really lovely and important that you've made that connection, and that like you're seeing now that the judgment that you're worried about other people having is really your own judgment toward yourself. And so I guess my question for you is like, do you feel like you're pretending? I mean, 8 years is a long time to pretend, and it's a lot of work to, to do all of the things that you've done to face yourself.
No, I'm not pretending, and am aware enough that there's still those little beliefs that ripple underneath the surface that I'm actively rewiring and redefining, and it ebbs and flows, where you have this period where you figure out the belief and you're like, oh my God, so much relief, I don't feel that anymore. And then as time goes on, it creeps back in. So it's a continuous process to move forward with that. But no, I'm definitely not pretending. I've cried too many times to pretend. Like I would have just not done all this hard work. Yeah. It would have been so much easier to not look at myself and the shame that I felt and the decisions that I've made and the ways that I've hurt myself and other people, and felt dishonest and been dishonest, and all of these elements. Would have been way easier to not do that work.
Mm-hmm.
So, for those reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also just want to honor the fact that that version of you, like from college, there's still a version within you that exists that is reminiscent, mirroring some of those aches and pains and outlets and joys and, you know, all of the things like that release, that freedom, that belonging that you were looking for. Like those are all super valid needs. And there's no part of me that feels like we can't make space for that to exist here too.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like part of the blessing of getting to be your partner through this life is just like honoring the parts of you that feel that way and figuring out, okay, like fun may not look like getting blackout drunk today or sleeping with a random girl and not talking to her or whatever, you know, fun was back then. But maybe we can like lean more into what that sort of fun and freedom looks like for you.
Mm-hmm.
And figure out a way to carve out room in our relationship so that way you don't have to compromise.
Yeah.
Because like I met fun Kevin. Like, I mean, you're still fun Kevin.
You did. You met me at a party hostel in Thailand.
Yeah.
I looked like a hobo and was getting drunk every night.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I mean, the hostel we met at would pour shots in our mouths.
Starting at 6 p.m., they would come around and they'd be like, it's time, and just give free shots to get people going.
And we drink full buckets of alcohol, like multiple buckets
Long
of alcohol.
Island iced teas. It was a bucket.
Oh my God.
It was like that sand bucket that you would build sand castles out of with like a handle on it, and they would put 5 straws in there, and it was like 3 or 4 drinks in one. And
then we would just chug them. Anyway, we'll get into the story of our introduction at some point. But I met that guy, and that was the guy who I hit it off with almost immediately, and like our chemistry has always been there.
Yeah.
And the light within you when you are in a social interaction and like really feeling yourself and just kind of like owning your power is so bright and so beautiful. And so it's just, it's like we don't get to see enough of that when it's just the two of us. And I feel like our journey, especially like right now, as we're trying to invite more conscious community forward, is to find people you feel safe enough to do that without the booze.
I love that. Thank you. That's really sweet to say that. It means a lot.
Yeah, I love you. I'm proud of you. Like if I could speak for those people that you're worried about seeing our podcast and your vulnerability and all the leaps that you've taken, I can't even imagine a world where someone sees and hears you in this current stage and thinks anything other than, oh my God, like it is possible. Like that's always been Kevin. That's always been you. And I just feel this sense of like tenderness and compassion for how rejected you have been throughout your life. And I just want you to know that I really love you, and even those harder days are still, like, you've still always been worthy of that.
Thank you.
You were going through a hard time and finding that sense of belonging. I think a lot of people struggle with that, like, as they go through schools and growth and development, it's just like other people are hard.
Yeah, I remember just this period. Well, thank you. That's really, really sweet. It means a lot. And it's interesting to just think back where high school was ending and I couldn't wait to go to college because I just felt like I didn't belong there anymore. I had some friends for sure that I'd known for a long time that were great, but I just felt like I was so ready. And then college felt so good in the beginning, and then soon didn't feel so good. And when college was wrapping up, I was so ready for it to be over. And I was like, I want this next chapter to start, because it was just felt pretty, like it just was not the environment for me. It was not the place for me. It wasn't the people for me for me to want to be around them. I didn't feel good about that. So yeah.
Well, and the themes of belonging have shown up, I mean, like long before that. I mean, knowing you as well as I do, I know we've talked about like when you, in your younger years, like playing with other kids and them running away.
Yeah, ditching. That was like weirdly big. Or maybe it was just something I experienced.
No, no, no. It was big in our school too, and
Yeah.
it's just horrible.
It's terrible
to be.
because I've been on both sides. Like I have been both the ditcher, where I'd help plan running away from some people, some kids, some friends. And
Really quickly for context, because I don't know if everyone knows what this is.
oh yeah,
But basically, like in grade school, you know, when kids are playing on the schoolyard, there is like someone will go off or like go to the bathroom or, you know, walk in a different direction, and then there's usually some sort of ringleader that's like, let's run off without them and hide, or like, you know, like they won't know where we've gone. And so, sorry, continue.
yeah. So it happened a lot when we'd be playing at like each other's houses, and yeah, going to the bathroom. I'd walk in and go to the bathroom, and I'd come out. And if you came out like sooner than expected, you would see like kids like off in the distance sprinting in the other direction. And it puts you in this weird position of like, you chase after them. I was fast, so I would often like catch up. And then there's this awkward thing of like, you guys just tried to leave me and now I've caught up. And so this is awkward. And then the other feeling of like, well, I'm just going to go home and feel like shit.
Yeah.
Because you guys just ran away from me. And then I've also been the person who has been involved in running away from people. I think I have certainly instigated it at times, because you want to be one of the cool ones that doesn't get left behind. But yeah, it doesn't feel good at all. It's pretty mean when you say it out loud too.
It's super mean.
Yeah.
It's super mean. And I mean, ultimately, like, it's not like people act that way because they're coming from a place of like joy and freedom. They're going like, usually it's like they're feeling some sort of pain, and it makes, similar to what you're saying, it makes them feel a little bit better, more popular to just take it out on someone who they perceive to be either able to take it or weaker or lower on the social ranking, or just a friend. But yeah, I mean, you know, it's like those initial pain points really set the stage for the types of relationships that we step into. Because I know I experienced so many betrayals in friendships, and it was so hard for me to trust and like to really feel the friend that I was investing in was going to be my friend for a long time. And I had many best friends, like really deep best friends, and a lot of them I know I made mistakes with. I was, you know, I had so many wounds, and I was going through a lot in real time, and felt deeply misunderstood and felt deeply boxed in to like a version of myself that didn't always resonate with. But also like a lot of the quote unquote bullying I received was kind of like, you've used this term before, like almost like punching, like what did you say, like punching where your shirt covers it, sort of thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's like you punch where their clothing covers it, so that when you hurt them, but when people go out into public, they don't see the bruises, they don't see the pain.
Yeah, and so, you know, I'm not I don't want to position this as though I'm a victim. I also did my wrongs here too. But there were many situations where I had a really close friend, and you know, they would like team up with like a guy I liked, or team up on me, or talk about me, or talk about my family, or, you know, and it just never felt totally safe. And I don't think I had the words for it back then. I think my nervous system was just too busy in survival mode. And I'll get into my past and my childhood in a separate podcast, because this one goes deep. But yeah, you know, like I think it was also just hard because given my family situation, I kind of would lean heavily into my best friends' families. And I think that that put both of us in a challenging situation because I was not in their family. And there was a lot that I only got the best of the family that I was kind of adopted into, pseudo adopted into. And I can only imagine how challenging that was for my best friends.
Like feelings of jealousy and
Yeah. Like, like to be invited so many places and to be considered in such an overt way. Whereas like, for my best friend, she would just be kind of like a part of the family, an assumed part of the family, but like they would have to ask about me.
mm-hmm.
And so I'm aware, I'm aware of how it resonates for both people. Yeah, it's such a wild ride with friendships. And similar to you, I have my own wounds where like I've been through so much over the course of my life, and I've been such a hot mess during periods of time. And I still, I'm moody. I like, I have my things that I work through. And yet like I'm so committed in just being the very best version of myself that I can possibly be. And when I look at the environment that I came from and some of the embedded programming that I've had to untangle, I both feel a bit of imposter syndrome at times, but mostly I am so proud of myself. Because I think if a lot of people would have seen on paper the path that I took to get here, they wouldn't have anticipated that I would be the version of myself that I am right now.
Mm.
And there have been so many choices that I've had to make, like 1,000 tiny choices that I've had to make to be who I am. And there's still a lot to work on, but I choose me. I choose me. And I choose you too.
Yeah, I see it every day. I feel like we were having a conversation the other night, and it's like one of the things that is so impressive about you is you've taken so much pain and things that you've experienced growing up, and you've alchemized it into making the world a better place, making an impact. And how can you make people feel better? How can you make people feel included when you felt excluded? How can you make people feel seen when you didn't feel seen? And you're so good at it.
Mm.
And you're magnetic. And people do gravitate towards you at parties because they know that they get to have a conversation with you that they don't get to have with anyone else.
Or they completely
or
avoid.
Sometimes it depends on their willingness to have that conversation, but they know what they're getting into.
I don't mean to always take it there, but
well, it's like
surface level is not for me.
No, it's not. And as you've seen, it doesn't take more than like 1 or 2 questions. You just ask thoughtful questions because you're interested in people.
Mm.
And it causes them to think beyond just the knee-jerk reaction. Everyone's got a response for how work's going, or how's this going, or how's family going. Everyone's got their canned responses, but when you ask the second level question, like how's your relationship with this person?
Mm.
They're like, oh, I don't have a response for that. I need to sit back and think about it and give you a real answer, and next thing you know I'm crying. And
there's space for that. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what I'm talking about. And I think you're just such a wonderful person.
Thank you, babe. I appreciate you a lot.